Hello and welcome to another Yahoo NG workflow overview. Today we'll be going over our out-of-the-box integration with SolarWinds. In this case, we'll have a SolarWinds alert that's fired because of a service being down on a remotely monitored node. This will kick off an Yahoo NG workflow that will automatically remediate the issue by restarting IAS. Throughout the process, we'll have good record keeping with ServiceNow. The very end of it, of course, resolving the ticket. And we'll also send a Microsoft Teams message to any channel of your choosing. So, to start things off, we'll first go into our remotely monitored node and disable IAS. What we're effectively doing here is forcing SolarWinds to notice there's an issue with IAS and create an alert. Of course, once that alert's created, we'll have our workflow being kicked off. It might take a little while for SolarWinds to pick up on the alert, so let's go ahead and spend that time to go over this workflow. So the first activity here is creating a ServiceNow record. Very simple on the Yahoo NG platform to do this. You'll also see there's some static information here, but also dynamic information that we're collecting from that SolarWinds alert. We're able to dynamically insert that from the SolarWinds alert into our workflow. So in this case, we're grabbing entity caption and caption from that SolarWinds alert. The second step here is, again, we're dynamically gathering that information, but we're double checking to make sure that IAS is actually down. And based on the result of that, we're either ending the workflow there or we're continuing on here in this left branch. The next step is for us to acknowledge the alert in SolarWinds. We're then going ahead and updating our notes again in ServiceNow. And the final and most important step of this entire workflow, we're going to restart IAS with a simple command. If we weren't able to restart IAS through this automatic remediation step, we would go down this right branch here. But if we were able to successfully restart it, we would go down this left branch. So at first, let's just assume we were. We go ahead and resolve that ticket from the ServiceNow side, letting the user know that we were successfully able to restart IAS and all is good. And then finally, we're creating a Microsoft Teams message to let anyone in that channel know that we were successfully able to restart that server. So while we were waiting, it looks like SolarWinds picked up on the fact that that node is down, so you can see that in this right here. So in just a moment, this will kick off our workflow, and we'll get into that in a moment. But for now, let's assume that we weren't able to automatically restart IAS. It would give us this. We would update our ServiceNow ticket accordingly, saying something like, hey, it's still awaiting a problem. Perhaps have someone be contacted by email. And finally, in that Microsoft Teams message, we go ahead and say, hey, we were not able to successfully restart that service, and here's why. So it looks like we have actually successfully been able to kick off that workflow. You can see the name listed here, and you can actually get a running count of what we're doing from an activity level within that workflow. So right now we're at the state of restarting IAS. So while that's running, I want to go ahead and show you what that ServiceNow ticket would look like. So let's go ahead and pull that up. And this is since we were successfully able to restart IAS, this is what our ticket would look like. So you can see a couple of pieces of information, of course, up top we're saying it was low impact, it was resolved. But we're also given a play-by-play of every step that we took through the process. If there were any issues, thankfully there wasn't, but we were able to reset it. The node is listed here as well. You can also see that on the top right here, we went ahead and resolved it. It's a similar case on the Microsoft Teams chatbot side. So if you pull that up for a second, you can see we were successfully able to restart the service. That's reflected in this message. A quick snapshot of what happened, and the ServiceNow ticket is also attached. And finally, if we go back to our SolarWinds side, we can see all is well. everything's green on that side. If we also go on to the back end of the audit trail, we can see any workflows that have been executed and a full breakdown of all the steps that were taken. So in this case, this is our workflow that we ran. You can see all the steps here. What's also interesting to note is the information from SolarWinds that was parsed into our workflow can also be referenced here. So if you remember, I mentioned in the workflow, we were referencing things like IP address. This is where it's actually able to pull that from and insert it dynamically into the workflow.